Everyone, what's the crack? Welcome to another video. This is one that I didn't think I'd be talking about for this Logitech wheel, but today we're going to talk about dual clutch paddles and how the Logitech G923 doesn't actually have them, but it has them. So dual clutch paddles are two little paddles that are usually on a, you usually find them on higher end steering wheels where you would have a two-stage clutch release system. Most of the cars which have a steering wheel like this wouldn't actually have a clutch pedal. So you can do the clutch operation with your hand. You let one go to bring you to the bite point where the car starts driving, and then the last one to let you out the lift. So it's basically bring you to your clutch slip point and then engage the rest of it. So that's very much a manual process on most racing cars. With steering wheels like this, I totally get it. There's a little two little paddles. Same with my Simagic. Before I had my Cube Controls wheel, the GT1, the GT4 rim has the clutch paddles. On the GT1, I think they're an optional extra. And often people pay, you know, as much as 150, 200 euro just for those paddles. So, I was very surprised to see that Logitech is actually including that functionality in their G23. Now, I thought I was looking at early images when I first heard about this, but there are no clutch paddles. So how the hell does it work? It made no sense to me before, but it is definitely, it feels strange saying it, but it's as effective as not having paddles. Let's go check out how it works at the simulator. So here we are at Daytona, a notoriously difficult track to get started on, especially when you're on that bank. I will show you it on the straight, on the flat bit first, but it does show you that from different conditions, you're going to need to set this differently. So it's very, very important to know how to set this up. As you can see my wheel there on screen. When you're in the pits, you just get your pit lane limiter. But to activate this, you simply pull the left and right gear shifters, and you pull these LSB and RSB or L1, R1 if you're on the PlayStation version, and then you see these blue lights start flashing. The next thing that you want to do is you want to actually assign a button which is going to act as your first paddle, I guess. So I'm going to use this one here on the left. So red lights start flashing now, and now if I engage the clutch fully, you see on the left hand side of the screen there, just here, you see as I engage the clutch with my pedal, that blue bar goes up and down. Now watch what happens when I start tapping the little minus button on the steering wheel. It actually brings it right down, and you can bring it down to where you think roughly your clutch bite point is. It's usually probably around here or so. And while you're still in this settings mode, you can actually test it. So if you press the button that you originally assigned, you could have chosen this one, but you see when I press that button, it's like a binary on-off for the rest of the clutch. So if I'm in gear, I absolutely floor it. I let this button go, and then I can do the last bit of the clutch with my foot. So let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. So you can see on the left hand side here, just beside the neutral, when I press the clutch with my foot, that bar fills up, but only up to about a third, even though I'm compressing the pedal all the way down to the ground. When I press the LSB button, it brings that clutch all the way up. So if you imagine you're in a race start scenario, you're in neutral, you're ready to go, you fully compress the clutch with your foot, you press that LSB button, you put it into gear, and you accelerate. And when the lights go out, you let that button go, and you can see the car starts rolling, and only now I let my foot up off the accelerator and go into second gear. As opposed to, if we don't use that, and this will give you some bit of context, if I just put it in gear and release both of them at the same time, so I accelerate really hard, let both of them go, the car goes nowhere and it tries to slide everywhere, because of the type of car it is. Now, where it really gets interesting is when you're at a race start on the banked surface. Because if I now do what I just did and I just accelerate hard, put it into gear and let them both go at the same time, the rear of the car goes, I didn't steer there, and you're facing the wrong way and you're taking out everybody who's around you. So in theory, this dual clutch launch control should make you a hell of a lot quicker on a banked start like this, even though you keep the accelerator absolutely planted. So let's do it. So if you imagine the lights are going out, just press this button, let this button go, let your foot clutch up, little bit of wheel spin. But if you see the way I got away there, it was a hell of a lot quicker than it would have been without the dual clutch functionality. So really, I think it's a massive feature, and I actually think it's massively undersold by Logitech as well. I think it's a huge deal, I think, and I think that lots of other wheel manufacturers, the Fanatec's and the Thrustmasters, might jump on the bandwagon and do this type of thing, because it really does make a difference. If you look at Fanatec, the McLaren GT3 rim is super popular. Not necessarily, okay, it's a good rim, not necessarily because it's a spectacular rim, but because it has clutch paddles, and people are trying to buy it, and the value has gone up just because of those clutch paddles and driving cars like this in championships. So that's about it. We're actually still in settings mode. Once you actually want to lock in those settings, you can just hit this enter button, and then everything is back to normal. And as you have your clutch pressed, LSB fully engages the clutch. Now, if you want to go and clear this, all you have to do is hold the left and right shifter paddles and hold the X button, and then it should be cleared. So if I press the accelerator now, it's back to, or sorry, if I press the clutch paddle now, it's back to giving me full range of motion. So it's super simple to set up. So I'll just do it really quickly there, and I'll try and tune to get that perfect bite point, because the bite point still wasn't 100% perfect. So press all 4 of these at the same time. Starts flashing blue. We want to use this button, so it starts flashing red. Then we want to fully engage the clutch and start hitting minus. So you need to tap it loads of times. You can't press and hold. And depending on, so we'll give it slightly more this time. So like that. Press LSB completely. Rev the nuts off it. Let LSB go. Like, that's a really good launch. You cannot argue with that. Let's do it on the very banked surface and see how it goes. Now, oops. That was just braking. I don't know if those of you who are familiar with oval racing, but that was just the banked surface and a lockup of the brakes. So this is an ultimate test. I do think that I'm going to need to be slightly less aggressive with the clutch this time, but let's do this. Press the LSB button, rev the nuts off it, let LSB go. Oh, nearly. All right. I was just a little bit aggressive with the clutch, but I was a little bit early with letting the foot clutch go. Let's go again. Press LSB, rev it, let LSB go. Pretty decent launch on a very steep banked course. So that is the Logitech dual clutch paddleless system. I don't even know how to call it, because it just seems weird. And every time I'm going to tell people that my a Logitech G923 has a dual clutch system, I'm going to have to explain it. I love that kind of techie stuff. I don't know if you guys found it interesting. I hope you did. I think it's a super cool feature. I think it's very represented and undersold by Logitech. Trueforce is I wouldn't say less innovative. It's really cool what they've done with the electronics, but from what's going to make you faster in a race, being able to launch a super difficult car like that at a super difficult track, and often in crazy heat conditions, and be able to practice that and vary that, is going to be the difference between winning races and not even being on the podium. It's, in my opinion, it is that big of a game changer. This is one of those features that will definitely make you faster. So on my initial unboxing video, I noticed that the brake pedal felt relatively stiff, and I remember noticing that when I used the G29 as well, because my G27 pedals were really loose. Now in the meantime, Will, our buddy at Boosted Media, who goes to massive effort for his videos, so do make sure to check him out, took the pedals apart, and lo and behold, there's a progressive spring in there. So why I haven't had issues with braking, and even last night during my stream when my force feedback for Assetto Corsa wasn't working great, my brakes were working great, and that's largely down to that spring. So with things like a progressive spring and dual clutch paddle functionality, they are making a lot of inroads towards the sim racing side of things. Now, one thing that we cannot forget is that Logitech is basically, if somebody has an arcade game and they need a wheel, even if they want to play with a wheel on Grand Theft Auto, they go and buy a Logitech. If you're playing Farm Simulator, go and buy a Logitech. So we are in a little niche of sim racers, but we need to think way, way beyond that. This is no longer sim racing hardware, or at least from Logitech's point of view, it's not just sim racing hardware. This is a game controller. And we don't like to refer to our hardware as game controllers, even though effectively that's all they are. So I'm super excited about the Logitech G923. I know a lot of naysayers and people who will probably never even own one have had their say. I think it's very exciting. I'm delighted to have gotten the chance to use one, and for anybody buying a new wheel, I think that if it's your first wheel, go for it. If you're upgrading your wheel, make sure you do your homework. If I was in a position where I had a G29 or a G27 even, and you know, considering the price jump and all that kind of stuff, I probably wouldn't be too tempted to upgrade. If I was, if a friend of mine who said, you know, oh, I want to get into iRacing, I don't really have a massive budget, but I want new hardware. What do you want? What should I get? I'd be like, get the G923. The force feedback is amazing in iRacing for what it is. It seems like you get the full 2.2 or 2.3 Newton meters of torque, and you get a lot of information and minimal setup. It's really, really good. Assetto Corsa, I'm still on the fence about because it was a disaster for me so far. Assetto Corsa Competizione, I've only done a couple of laps, not as good as iRacing. So if your friend wants to get into sim racing on a budget, and they do want to get iRacing, which probably is a bit of a contradiction, I highly recommend this wheel. And if you just like the latest and greatest tech and you realize that you can probably get a premium for your existing Logitech wheel, upgrade it. Features like this really make it worth it, in my opinion. Feel free to have your say in the comments below, good and bad. I know that Logitech does read the comments below, so if you want to say things to Logitech, now's your chance. I'm Lawrence, thanks a million for watching my video, and everybody who hit like and of course hit subscribe, do make sure you hit subscribe so you see future videos like this. I've got loads more in the pipeline. So thank you very much for watching, chat to you later.